Hey everyone, welcome to the course on NFTs. In this course, we're going to teach you everything you need to know about NFTs. You're going to leave this course thinking, hey, I know everything there needs to know to have a solid foundation when it comes to NFTs. Now, nothing in this course is considered investing advice. Beware of that. But we'll be teaching you all of the basics since NFTs is such a hot topic and how to navigate the NFT space. Now, the goal of this course is to learn about NFTs, to understand the uses of NFTs, because there are many uses. Right now, we're seeing one predominant use being digital art be extremely popular, but there are many uses for NFTs. And then we're going to show you how you can mint and sell your own NFTs on a marketplace. To simplify it, we're going to take you through everything that is NFT right now, but we're also going to break down, hey, what is this NFT concept? What can I do with it? And so at first, we're going to dive a bit deeper into learning about NFTs. We're going to focus on the what, the why, the how. And by doing that, we'll create a strong foundation about this concept of NFTs because it's broader than the use case that is being used for today, which is digital art. And then once we zoom in on that, we'll be taking a look at understanding the uses because there are more uses than what we're seeing right now. We're going to say, hey, what uses are there? Why is digital art so popular? And then we're going to say, hey, what powers the use of digital art? We're going to take a look at how is this happening? What's behind the scenes, right? And then by understanding that, we can then zoom in on, hey, how do I mint and sell my own NFTs? We'll talk about what is minting, how do I mint, and what platforms can I sell on, right? Because this is intended to be a foundational course. Let's take a look at NFTs. Let's zoom in on a lot of things that go into NFTs, and then let's figure out how we can get into the market. And by doing that, we can strengthen our understanding, strengthen our position, and really start to gain more in-depth interest into the industry and jumpstart our adventure into NFTs. Let's jump right into it. Now you're asking yourself, okay, what is a non-fungible token? You know, you're kind of looking like, well, we're coming to this course to kind of better understand that. And so let's jump straight into a definition, right? An NFT stands for non-fungible token. Now, what is the meaning of this? What does this actually mean? Well, it is proof of ownership of an asset. Okay. Proof of ownership of an asset. What type of asset? Well, any asset really doesn't really matter. Right now, we're looking at assets that are predominantly digital, right? But in theory, it could be any asset at all. An NFT is just a token that says, hey, I have proof of ownership of this asset. Okay. Non-fungible, what does that stand for? Okay, so we know that the token is the unique part. You know, it says, hey, this is the ownership. But why is it called basically a non-fungible token? Well, non-fungible refers to the fact that it is unique and cannot be replaced. Interesting. Okay, so the non-fungible part refers to the fact that the asset or thing or whatever it is unique and cannot be replaced. Okay. Wait, what, Mo? What did you just say? The asset cannot be replaced. Well, let's look at some examples. Last video, we ended on the question of what is a non-fungible asset, right? Because a non-fungible token is supposed to represent the uniqueness of a non-fungible asset. It's supposed to represent the ownership of that non-fungible asset. Okay, so we landed on what does fungibility actually mean, right? And so it's best explained through examples. If we look at asset examples, and these asset examples aren't necessarily fungible, non-fungible, solely in a digital space, we're looking at it holistically. if we were to look at a fungible asset, we would be talking about cash, Bitcoin, because $1 is equal to $1, right? When we exchange $1 for one another, the value stays equal. And the same is true for Bitcoin. Okay, so I hear you saying like, Mo, but like, okay, $1 is $1, right? And one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. So if I have this Bitcoin or that Bitcoin, it doesn't really matter. Okay, got it. So that's fungibility. Yes. If the asset itself can be exchanged in likeness, in value, it is fungible. Now, there are gray areas here, and we'll get into those later on. But then let's take a look at non-fungible assets. And I took some time to jot down a couple of examples here. One can be watches, right? Another could be plane tickets. And yet another could be stamps. Okay. Let's zoom in a bit more, and let's see why these are defined as non-fungible. But let's go back to this real quick. If we look at cash, and we're looking at trading $1 for $1 for $1 is in likeness because $1's value remains $1, irregardless of the serial code that's printed on it, where it was produced. $1 is $1. You go to a store, you pay with $1, a person will accept $1. Therefore, it is a fungible asset. The exact same is true for Bitcoin. It is a fungible asset. Now that's weird, right? Well, no, it's a digital currency. It's still a currency. Therefore, it has all the hallmarks of a fungible asset. Now, to date, we aren't really using it as much as a currency, right? Like you can't walk into your local mom and pop shop and, spend the Bitcoin and like they accept it. There are certain companies that accept transactions for Bitcoins like Tesla, but it doesn't have mainstream adoption as a currency yet. So currently in the tax code, often it's looked at as an asset class. So there's weirdness here, but one Bitcoin is equal to one other Bitcoin, irregardless of its serial code here, right? Doesn't matter if you had the first Bitcoin ever mined or the last Bitcoin ever mined. The value of one Bitcoin is equal to the value of another Bitcoin. So then we get into the non-fungible territory, right? And we get into this area where we're like, well, why is a watch non-fungible? Well, if you look at it, right? On the left, you can see a gold, very pretty watch here. On the right, you can see a very bland watch. Now, if we assigned an asset class to this, like for instance, this one was a Rolex, and this one was just, a regular Casio. Well, there's immediately a value difference in the money you paid. But, right, you buy a Casio off the shelf for $100. You're not going to go to someone and exchange that in likeness for another Casio because the watch itself has devalued. It hasn't retained value. It's devalued because you've worn it. It's not a collector's item. So you can't say that you can go trade a Casio for a Rolex because a Rolex, if we look at Rolex itself, it usually appreciates. It goes up in value regardless of if you wore it, depending on the type you had and whether or not you did something to it. And the serial codes here matter. If you have a Rolex that was made 50 years ago, let's say you had a Rolex Daytona, and then you had a Rolex Daytona that was made in 2021, the values are not alike. They're both Daytonas. Don't get me wrong. They're both Daytonas, right? They're the exact same model. So why is one worth more than the other? Because there's an intrinsic value that we as a community give to it, which makes it non-fungible. I can't just go and say, hey, you give me your new Daytona, I'm going to give you my old Daytona. It's not a fair trade. It's not like $1 for $1. No, not at all. And the same is true for stamps or plane tickets, right? Have you ever met a stamp collector? Well, a stamp made in the 1960s is not equal to a stamp made today. And the same is true for a plane ticket. If we got a business class plane ticket, the aisle versus the window seat, they can't be traded in like because at the end of the day, it's the person himself who determines like, oh, I'd rather have aisle, so I'm rather willing to pay more for it, right? So there's nuances here that determine non-fungibleness. And the same is true actually for cash, right? Because just like stamp collecting, you could do coin collecting. And I remember when the euro came out back in the 2000s, people were collecting coins like crazy because certain emblems were custom printed on it in limited runs. And therefore, the value of a €2, although if you went to spend it in the store, would be accepted as €2, within the trading community, the value of that €2 coin could be way more than the actual face value of the coin. And that's what determines non-fungibleness. It's what are we willing to give to it as a value, and is it unique to us or not, right? So let's get into some of the characteristics here, the key traits. Well, for something to be non-fungible, it has to be unique. So, like Rolex in a limited run, like the coins in a limited run, it needs to be irreplaceable, right? The first Daytona ever made is always going to be worth more than the second Daytona Rolex ever made. Non-interchangeable. Swapping them doesn't equate an equal value, and that is the key trait of something that's non-fungible. Okay, so we know what makes something non-fungible. But then we go back to the coin example. Fungible versus non-fungible, because cash was fungible, but then I talked to you about coins. The value of an item and its use determines whether it's fungible or non-fungible outside of the traits, right? So the value we assign to it also has to be tied into it. It's not just the key traits. Like we could assign all of these key traits to a Bitcoin, right? The first Bitcoin ever printed has a serial code. It's unique. It's this, that, the other. But also it's the value we assign to it. That's why a coin collected in 2000s that was €1 at face value is €2, but in the collector space can be worth way more. And that's what makes fungible versus non-fungible so difficult to distinguish. And that's where NFTs come in, right? When we're talking about these non-fungible items, the token represents the ownership of that non-fungible item. In modern days, like if we go back to our example, right? When you buy a Rolex, what's your form of ownership? Like what determines all of this, right? Why do we need non-fungible tokens? That why we need to look a bit deeper into. Now that we know what NFTs are, right? And what the difference is between a fungible and a non-fungible asset, we inevitably have to ask our question, why? Why do we need NFTs to do anything at all? What is the purpose of us saying, okay, well, we know what a fungible asset is, we know what a non-fungible asset is, but why do we need these tokens to define ownership, right? And, at the end of the day, that's a great question. So let's talk about purpose, right? Let's talk about purpose in a digital world. In a digital world, ownership was never clearly defined. What do I mean by this? Never clearly defined. Well, honestly, like when I bought something, I knew I was the owner of it. Yeah, you knew. But was it public? Did you have the sole rights to that item? Is it traceable, right? All of those things, just like owning a watch. I know that's my watch. I know that I bought that watch and therefore that is my watch, right? Yeah, but like, what actually makes it your watch? Is it tracked in a database somewhere? Does Rolex keep a database of the serial number against the person who bought it? Maybe they do. Maybe they do. And that will define ownership, right? The serial codes often do define ownership, but only if they're tracked against the purchaser. Okay. So in a digital world, do we get serial codes on things? Well, think of a time where you bought a domain name, a game skin, a ticket, right? Just purchasing online in general makes all the difference in the world because, you're purchasing a domain name is very traceable, right? Like ICANN is tracking this person bought it and we have WhoisGuard. So there is a database tracking who is the rightful owner of the domain name. Can I resell it? Not really. Well, I can resell my domain, but there's no real mechanism for it. It's more so a transferability aspect, and then someone, pays me for it. There's no real online mechanism that really warrants that in an easy to use way. Think of a game skin. Have you ever played Fortnite? Although you buy that skin, it's linked to your account, therefore there is a form of ownership, right? A certain form. But can I go and resell it on eBay? Can I take that skin and, turn a profit? It's quite difficult, no? Inevitably, you ask the question, do you actually own it? And ownership means that you can freely resell the good you own, right? It does mean that, right? Like if I own something, like if I buy a watch, I have the physical good. I go to a store, I say, hey, how much? And they give me money and I give them the watch. If I buy a game skin online on Fortnite or whatever other game you may play, it doesn't have to be Fortnite, but any game at all, it's really difficult to resell it. Like I can't just go and put a price tag on it. Now, there were certain games in the past that allowed this ability of reselling skins, right? There was the CSGO stuff that went on, and there have been ways of doing this, right? But all of those ways were kind of proprietary. Like they weren't unified. Think of it like this. A marketplace to sell these digital things was usually built custom to the asset that was being sold. So there was no unified way to track ownership of any digital good whatsoever. It doesn't matter what it is. And that exactly is what NFTs are trying to solve. The right to ownership, the right to resell. And they're enabling that through different mechanisms. And those mechanisms we'll talk about. But the why of NFTs, the why is the ownership part. The ownership being very strict. And through that ownership, enabling ways to clearly define that resellability. Because when we ask ourselves, what's my proof today? Is it an email? Is it like a thread? Is it the serial number? Yeah, maybe it's all of those things, but is it publicly traced? No. Is it clear? No. And all of those questions, all of those problems are what NFT as a technology is trying to solve for. Now, if we take NFT as a technology, right? Just the raw technology, like the concept of an NFT, the token that represents the non-fungible item. That is the why. That's the ownership part. And then through that concept, we get into, all right, how do I enable that? And that's when we enter blockchain, a decentralized ledger, right? Blockchain technology, again, a technology that enables other concepts, other technologies to build upon it. And that's what we'll zoom in on. But what I want to end on is that the why of non-fungible tokens is for that proof of ownership. And through that proof of ownership, having that token, being able to say, I own this asset, and being able to enable marketplaces, tradability, resellability, all of those things, we can do that now because the concept is there. A generic concept, not a proprietary concept where Call of Duty has its own marketplace and Fortnite has its own marketplace. That means every company needs to build their own proprietary system. NFTs enable a generic system that everyone can build upon. It doesn't matter what company. Leverage the generic blockchain technology and enable resellability without needing to build all of these systems in a closed off way. Now we ask ourselves the question, how do NFTs work, right? We've answered the question, what are they? We've answered the question, what's fungibility versus non-fungibility? And we've answered the question, why do we need them? But how would NFTs operate in reality, right? Because it's a concept. It's a protocol of sorts, right? It's not really a physical representation of anything. The concept is the concept. NFT is a concept, a non-fungible token. But now we have to get to, well, how would people implement that? And so we get over to the blockchain, right? The blockchain powers NFTs. The blockchain technology is the backbone that we are going to implement NFTs on as a society. Okay, that is the blockchain. And so when you ask, what is the blockchain? There's a lot of things that the blockchain is and a lot of things that it provides. But at the end of the day, blockchain is a type of decentralized storage. Think of a database that is sharded into a million little blocks and copied across multiple different systems, and everyone keeps a ledger of that data. Blockchain is type of decentralized storage and is, again, in itself a concept kind of like NFTs, and it's down to the actual implementation to determine, okay, this technology as a concept, what do we do with it? How do we build it? And from that, we got Ethereum, we got Bitcoin, we get all of these other different coins with different tokenomics that are all built on the same backbone that is blockchain. But don't get it twisted. Just because all these different technologies are built on the blockchain doesn't mean that they all have the same value, right? That's why Bitcoin has different economics than Ethereum. Bitcoin, you have to mine every token and there's a finite amount. Ethereum is kind of like the oil of the blockchain industry. You burn it in order to get things done, right? And by burning it, you spend energy. So blockchain itself is the decentralized storage portion with a bit more on top of it and a bit more nuance, but the technology of blockchain is that decentralized storage portion. And so then you ask yourself, well, what are we getting out of the blockchain, right? And so that itself is, we are getting interoperability, tradability, immutability, liquidity, and programmability. Those are the things that we want to get out of the blockchain for NFTs specifically. If we want to have non-fungible tokens, if we want to have ownership of assets on the blockchain, right? If we want to have true non-fungible tokens, ownership of a good on the blockchain, we need interoperability, tradability, immutability, liquidity, and programmability. Let's zoom in on those. Well, let's zoom into interoperability. Interoperability is the ability to exchange the NFT across ecosystems, right? So if you buy an NFT, a non-fungible token, which could be a deed for a house, could be a digital art, could be anything. If you buy it on the Ethereum network, shouldn't you be able to sell it and send it in some way, shape, or form to the Bitcoin network? Now, this is like long-term thinking, right? But like an NFT as a concept is just a token. The blockchain technologies should be able to accept that token, wrap it in some way, hold that information, because it's just data at the end of the day, right? We just need to be able to accept and understand the data that is inside the NFT on different chains in order to store that data. But it depends on how they program that ecosystem, how they program that blockchain, what the blocks can hold, right? And so true interoperability is like a long-term vision, right? But interoperability could also mean other things, like the ability to hold it in different wallets, the ability to hold the NFT or like buy it on different marketplaces. Understanding and keeping that in mind, the next thing we would need is immutability, right? NFTs should be undivisible or indivisible rather, and should be unique. So there could be copies of an NFT, right? There, you could have 100 like digital artworks that are the same exact artwork, but they're not divisible. Like you can't split one in two. You also can't have a direct copy of one. The first one minted versus the last one minted. It could be a different serial number, and that could add to its unique value. They're not unique in the sense that they can be the same thing, but they're not the exact same data, right? So immutable means the blockchain records the data in a way that makes it hard to change. Okay, so blockchain already has this as a concept built into the decentralized storage mechanism. So we're getting that out of the blockchain technology. Great. When we go further, for an NFT ecosystem, for true ownership, we need tradability. We need the ability to trade freely on open marketplaces. And we're getting closer and closer to this, right? So tradability is like being able to put it on eBay, right? And then sell it. or put it on for like swap or trade. And with digital assets, we need that concept to be baked into the ecosystem, but we're trying to build a holistic ecosystem. The game Fortnite or the game CSGO, they want their own marketplace, and we're going to put interoperability and tradability. Well, you don't have true interoperability because you're not going to take a skin from CSGO and play it in Fortnite. And we don't have true tradability because you're not going to swap a skin from Fortnite for anything in the CSGO. If we get to true NFT space where we could have digital assets that are completely unique, and then every one of these ecosystems, these games hook into it, right? Then they could take a digital asset, they could create a tradability mechanism where they would evaluate the value of a skin when you put in a skin from a different game and you want to trade it for CSGO coin, if they ever made it. And then you could actually swap your skin for currency in that game and you could continue, and then you have true value retention of your digital assets. To give you an example, right? I spent over €1,000 on League of Legends throughout my 10 years playing it. All of those skins, I don't own a single one. I can't trade them for value anywhere else. I don't actually even technically own them. If I don't use my account, I don't really retain the value of that digital asset, right? It's just there. It's just money that I put in there. But if we get to true tradability space where League of Legends opts to turn its coin mechanism, you can purchase coins in the game, into a true token, and then builds on the blockchain, and then builds against multiple NFT contracts the ability to trade, right? And then puts the skins in League of Legends as an NFT, then I could potentially trade my skins on an open marketplace with other people. And I have some unique skins, some things you can't get, right? And the value of those skins, right, is next to zero because, well, they're kind of locked away, right? I don't have that tradability aspect. So very important things to think about here when we zoom in. Then we have liquidity. Transfer NFTs into tokens for liquidity. Just like I talked about when, tradability is swapping one NFT for another NFT of rather equal value, or that's just the concept of trading. This liquidity is the same, but trading it into liquidity, right? Which could be another token, right? If I owned an NFT like my skin and I wanted to liquidate it, like in the real world, you go to a pawn shop and you'd be like, here, take this, and they'd give you cash in return. Well, what if I wanted Ethereum or Bitcoin for my thing? There could be marketplaces where they would buy it off of you and you could transfer it into liquidity, right? You could sell your skins instead of having to trade them for equal value for other people, right? And could you trade them for equal value? Well, the trade would be up to the two people trading to be like, I'll take this League of Legends skin for the CSGO skin, or whatever the case would be. In the tradability concept and the liquidity concept, you need to put a dollar value to the NFT and it needs to be able to be purchased. Whether that could be selling on a marketplace or that could be selling to the marketplace where they have a system to buy it off you, right? Liquidity is just transferring into token, Ethereum, Bitcoin, cash, USDT, whatever it may be. Okay, and then the final thing. For NFTs to truly exist in the form that they need to be, ownership of a digital asset, we need programmability. And what does programmability mean? Well, we need the ability to embed code in the NFT to make it smarter. If it's just raw data, right? If it's just raw data, great. We can hold a catalog of what the thing is. But now if it can contain code, right? If it can contain actual things that can be executed, now we can make it much, much smarter, right? We could have it execute certain things at certain times of the year to yield something, right? Whether it be dividend in a stock, right? That's a quarterly thing that happens. So the programmability aspect makes it possible for you to embed things into the NFT that make it a bit smarter than just flat data. Ethereum powers NFTs. Now that we know how the blockchain fits into all of this, now that we know what NFTs are, why we need them, how they work, now we need to look at the real world implementations of this, right? And that's where we're looking at Ethereum, because Ethereum is where the majority of NFTs live today. Now, there are other solutions out there for NFTs, but we're going to focus on the mainstay here. Now, inevitably, you'll have the question, maybe if you're not familiar, what is Ethereum? And we could make an entire course on Ethereum itself, right? The token that is counter to Bitcoin, right? Now, the way that I put it is if Bitcoin is the gold standard, and by gold standard, I mean like gold, right? Like the equivalent of gold in the real world of the cryptocurrency market, Ethereum is more like the oil or the coal. We need to burn it in order to do stuff. So what does that mean? Well, Ethereum powers a lot of different things and is a lot of different things. It's instantly send and receive money. It's financial freedom. You can build decentralized apps on it. You can do peer-to-peer stuff. There's the ability to build marketplaces on top of it. Ethereum is able to power what people want as a standard as long as you're willing to burn Ethereum to accomplish something, right? So as long as you're willing to burn the token as gas, they have a whole network and development guide that can teach you how to do a ton of different stuff. But the part we need to zoom in on about Ethereum so that we can better understand how NFTs are implemented is that Ethereum is a programmable blockchain. A programmable blockchain. What is that? What does that mean? Well, put in simple terms, it means that Ethereum as a concept, right? Because it is a blockchain. It's a technology that's running somewhere in a decentralized way. Ethereum allows you to take code that you wrote, right? Code. And it allows you to deploy it on the Ethereum network, on the blockchain, and execute it. Now, that doesn't mean you can write any code possible in the whole wide world or deploy like really, really complex apps. No. They have standards with which you can write and deploy code on Ethereum, right? They control what type of code is allowed to be executed on the Ethereum network, because otherwise people could exploit vulnerabilities, put security loopholes, right? They could deploy like bugs up there, and they really control what type of code can be executed on the Ethereum network. And there's contracts to which, you must adhere to deploy your app to the Ethereum network. But in basic terms, you can take code and you can put it on Ethereum, and that code will execute. Now, everything on Ethereum is an address, is a wallet of sorts, and you can interact with that wallet. Okay, so Ethereum is a coin. Ethereum needs to be burned in order to do transactions. You're allowed to deploy code onto Ethereum to do things. Okay, understood. So what does that mean for NFTs, Mo? We understand that you can take code, you can deploy it on Ethereum. Well, for NFTs, this basically means that Ethereum has a way for you to define in code the specifics of ownership, right? The things that we talked about. And because of that, we use Ethereum to power NFTs. And Ethereum has built NFT standards into the blockchain technology that they've built to ensure that there's one interface for defining what an NFT looks like. And for that, we need smart contracts. Before we dive into smart contracts, let's have a short recap. And in that short recap, I just want to high level refresh you on everything we've discussed so far, because it's all very high level, right? We've spoken about NFTs and how NFTs, the non-fungible token aspect, are the concept of ownership of this non-fungible asset, right? And ownership is defined by the ability to transact, liquidity, transferability, indivisibility, like it's unique. That's powered by blockchain technology. So we said, okay, we have this NFT thing, this concept. This concept can be powered by blockchain because blockchain is inherently immutable. It's decentralized data storage. Sweet. So now we're getting to the crux of the implementation detail, right? We're getting to Ethereum. Ethereum powers NFTs. How does Ethereum power NFTs? Well, Ethereum is a blockchain technology. Ethereum enables you to deploy code onto the Ethereum network. Ethereum is much more than just a simple coin that appreciates in value. No, it allows you to freely transact. They've built all these standards on top of it. It is a vast, vast ecosystem. And like I said before, there's a lot you could learn just about Ethereum. You could have a whole course on it because it's so vast. We're trying to single in on what aspect of Ethereum helps us achieve NFTs. Well, there's this concept in Ethereum called smart contracts. Smart contracts are no more than pieces of code that you deploy onto Ethereum. And then by deploying them onto Ethereum, they now become their own entity, so to speak. Okay, so let's dive a bit deeper into that. What is a smart contract on the Ethereum network? And Ethereum is powering the majority of this concept of a smart contract. There are other networks trying to achieve similar things again. A smart contract is a type of Ethereum account. Okay. So in the concept, we know of blockchain with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Everyone holds a wallet, right? Everyone has this wallet and it can hold coins. Well, a smart contract is no more than a wallet itself, right? It can hold things. But users can interact with it. Okay. Users can interact with a smart contract. So it's an account, it can hold things. Users can interact with it. Think of it like a vending machine. You give it money, it gives you something back. All right. But smart contracts, well, they can define rules and enforce them via code. So when you interact with it, it can have a rule set. You can only get something from me if you adhere to the rules that I have pre-programmed in my code. It would be the same concept as a human telling you, I'll give you this if you give me this much Ethereum. But it's automated now. There's no more transactability. A smart contract basically enforces the moment you give it something, it's going to give you something back because it is the account itself. It holds the actual value itself. So it is more than just a bit of code that runs on Ethereum. It can be its own entity. And with that comes drawbacks, right? Like what you program in the smart contract and what you put on the Ethereum network. Well, you don't want to put bugs in that now, do you? But in essence, these smart contracts allow us to enforce and create these transactable events, right? And a smart contract being just the concept of the code that can be on the Ethereum blockchain that can be transactable. That is where the power lies. And so understanding what a smart contract is makes us able to look a bit closer at, well, how would we program these smart contracts to hold digital art, right? And that's what we're getting at here is, what do I need to do for an NFT in the form of digital art on a smart contract to deploy to the Ethereum network? And we're starting to come full circle here. And so let's look a bit closer at what type of smart contracts are necessary for NFTs. In this course, we're not going to go deep into all of the defining qualities of the smart contracts that you could use on Ethereum. We're going to be using a marketplace to mint and sell our NFTs to simplify the process. But it would not be smart for us to not quickly look at, hey, what are the standards that are used for NFT minting now that we know that smart contracts, these pieces of code that run on Ethereum, are what power NFTs. And so I quickly wanted to touch on ERC 721. It is the first standard for NFTs on Ethereum. So it's the first type of smart contract, or standard of smart contract rather, that was used for NFTs on Ethereum. Think of it like a smart contract template. It basically outlines all of the rules that need to be followed for NFTs on Ethereum as a smart contract. Now you can extend upon this. You could even change it. but it is viewed as a standard because when you follow the standard, you know what you're getting, right? If people build upon the standard, then there is trust. And through trust, you know that your ownership is secured. So this type of smart contract, well, it creates and keeps track of ownership of the NFTs that it has created. So when you transact with the smart contract that was based on 721, you know that certain principles have been followed to ensure that your ownership of what you're purchasing against that smart contract. Because remember, a smart contract is nothing more than a wallet. So when you interact with it, you are giving it money, and it is giving you, well, money, or rather Ethereum, and it is giving you something in return. And that something in return that it is giving you, it is tracking your ownership on that smart contract of the non-fungible asset. And this is where digital art kind of comes in. Now, does it need to be digital art? Not necessarily. It could track your ownership against something else as well. But in the concept of digital art, we're tracking the ownership of digital, right? So basically the smart contract, when you interact with it, you give it Ethereum, right, to the wallet, and it in the code will do things to either mint or generate an NFT. In this case, the most valuable use case is digital art. And that transaction is secure because we know that this contract builds certain standards into the smart contract. There are certain pieces of code that are by default in the smart contract that give you trust. Now, we'll be linking the resources to ERC-721, so you can go read the specification if you want, or some high-level documentation around it. But the reason that we wanted to touch on these smart contract standards is because at the end of the day, anyone can build any smart contract, right? It's just code. It's just code that goes on Ethereum. But through standardization like 721, we now ensure that we have trust because people are following a public standard that is open and that you can view. Otherwise, there could be any type of code in that smart contract, right? So there's a certain validity that comes with implementing against that template. The next standard you need to know about, and maybe the final standard, is ERC-1155. It was coined the final standard for NFTs on Ethereum. Now, it's a bold statement, but basically there was this team, the Engine team, and they built this new smart contract standard for NFTs on Ethereum. And basically, you can think of it as an enhancement of ERC-721 or a superset of the template that was ERC-721. Now, why is it a superset of ERC-721? Well, first of all, it's cheaper because you can hold asset classes. It no longer tracks singular ownership. On ERC-721, you interact with the contract and it tracked ownership of each individual piece. What this meant was that if you had NFTs on an ERC-721 contract, let's say you owned 5 assets. If you wanted to transfer those assets, you would have to transfer those assets one by one, right? And so doing that one by one, you're paying fees on each individual transaction. In ERC-1155, you can hold asset classes. So if you buy 10 NFTs of, let's say you buy 10 digital art pieces from the same project. Now in ERC-1155, you can hold all of those 10 together and you can sell them together. You can transfer them together. So it's cheaper. You don't have to pay as many gas fees going back and forth because you can sell them in bulk. There's a lot of enhancements, but it's a superset because you can also create an ERC-721 asset inside of a smart contract that is ERC-1155. Now, this is a complicated mechanism for saying that they're complementary. Basically, they're complementary. They're not competition. ERC-721 can't support ERC-1155, but ERC-1155, the smart contract type, can support assets of this type. And so with that, what you need to know here is that this is the current standard. This is where it started. This is where it's going. And by knowing that, you can deep dive a bit deeper into all of the aspects that go into it. Now, we'll be linking the docs to the standard ERC-1155 so you can read a bit deeper about it. But at the end of the day, this is what most marketplaces are running on right now, and how asset classes are kind of divvied up, right? We want things to be cheaper, faster, smarter, because Ethereum can cost a lot of money when you're paying these gas fees to transfer things. And ERC 721 did a lot of good things, but the enhancements that come from 1155 far outweigh the benefits of 721. And that's where the trickiness lies. But basically, this is the smart contract type that is now powering the majority of transactions around NFTs on Ethereum. And that's what we need to know here. That is the crux of it all. You may have found yourself asking throughout this course, what are the uses for NFTs? And what exactly is the long-term vision for NFTs, right? This non-fungible asset business. Like, where are we going? Right now, we're in a renaissance period, right? We're very early on and digital art is king, right? We're doing all of this digital art business online, which is great because it's giving all of these artists an outlet and a medium in order to make money. But it's just the start, right? It's the first implementation of this NFT business is digital artwork, digital ownership, right? It's a stepping stone for more complicated technologies to eventually come in and utilize the similar technology for different use cases. And we don't even know what use cases may arise. This is one of the simplest use cases that has had a great benefit for individuals' lives. But if we look beyond the veil of today toward the future and think about, hey, this technology, what could it be utilized for outside of this? Well, we think about fashion, wearables, clothing. Maybe we link an NFT to them to have ownership. We all know that Nike has a patent out for an NFT to combat gray market selling by embedding NFTs into the shoes and tracing the ownership, right? And therefore, you kind of know that fashion is a potential avenue for this. But other than fashion, maybe collateral against a loan. These non-fungible assets, it's very similar to a concept of a pawn shop where you go in, you trade in your non-fungible asset, and you get money in return, and you can pay back that money to get back your non-fungible asset. But do this digitally, right? You have a loan somewhere, you need quick liquidity, use an NFT as that quick liquidity against that loan. That's a financial concept. There's a lot of financial concepts out there that we could use NFTs for, like tons and tons and tons. This is just one of them. Maybe in gaming, right? We've touched upon this many times throughout the course. You buy a lot of digital assets in games, but you need that liquidity, transferability, and all of those other hallmarks in order to be like, well, if I'm going to invest in these game skins, why don't I get benefit out of it? So that's just another avenue that may potentially spawn use cases for NFTs. And it's not to say that all of these NFT use cases are going to be on Ethereum, right? Ethereum right now is where it's at. But for true interoperability, maybe we'll reach a point where we can go across blockchains and wrap these assets, these non-fungible assets. But the protocols and the communication mechanisms for that have yet to be defined and are very much in their infancy stage. Then we go look at something more business-oriented, like the supply chain, right? Let's say you buy an item from a different country. Well, you could theoretically track the entire process of that asset through NFTs, from having a token from where it was created, when it was shipped, where it arrived, and you could follow the entire journey of the supply chain through the blockchain in this way. Now, these are all concepts that NFTs could be leveraged for in some way or another because the tokens grant uniqueness, right? And that uniqueness allows us to say, hey, the registration of this event. So using it like an event-driven system to be able to track a journey of something. All of these use cases, all to say that the space is extremely interesting and there's a lot of things you can do with technology. And although digital art is where we're at right now and a lot of people are skeptical, the long-term strategic vision for a technology like this is infinite. And therefore, we should look at it less with a skeptic eye and more with an open mind to be able to figure out, hey, maybe I want to invest in some of these technologies potentially long term, or maybe I just want to follow along and see, right? Or maybe you work in a company where this may be interesting. Just keeping an open mind is very important when looking at these new technologies, because even though you may be skeptical about the initial use cases, the long-term use cases may be valid and valuable for you, and that is important. So now that we've gone through the entire journey of the what, the how, the why, and everything in between, now let's step into how do we actually mint, so create an NFT, and sell it on a marketplace. Let's dive into that. We've reached the final stretch. How do we sell and distribute an NFT? Here you see OpenSea, a website to discover, collect, and sell extraordinary NFTs. It's one of the largest NFT marketplaces available. And to simplify the process to entry without needing to build your own smart contract, deploy your own code, learn how to code, and all of that in between, we're going to use OpenSea to create our own NFT. But you will need an Ethereum wallet to use OpenSea. And so, like we said, Ethereum is powering a lot of the NFT market. NFTs are in huge demand, and OpenSea is a marketplace that builds on top of Ethereum to make it easy for you to sell, distribute, and even buy your own NFTs. Now, we're going to go specifically through how to open your own wallet and sell on OpenSea. Let's get started. To open an OpenSea account, we need an Ethereum wallet. And an Ethereum wallet is just a wallet that you can open on any of these providers: MetaMask, Coinbase, Wallet Connect, Fortmatic. Now, we're going to use MetaMask as the standard here, but you can connect any wallet you already have. Now, if we go to MetaMask, we see that you can install it on Chrome, iOS, and Android. We're in Chrome right now, so we're going to download and install it in Chrome. Install MetaMask for Chrome. It takes us to the MetaMask Chrome Web Store website. And what we'll do here is we'll press Add to Chrome, add the extension. And by adding the extension, we've now added MetaMask to Chrome so that we can have our wallet inside of our Chrome browser. And as you can see, they put this funny animation here. Now it says, "Welcome to MetaMask, connecting you to the Ethereum and decentralized web. We're happy to see you." And now that we've installed MetaMask, let's go through the setup. So to set up MetaMask, let's press this Get Started button. And then it'll say, are you new to MetaMask? If you're not, you can put in your secret recovery phrase. Or if you are new, well, let's get set up. Let's create a wallet. It's going to ask you if you want to help improve MetaMask, gather usage data. For now, I'm going to press no thanks. And we're going to have to fill in a password. So choose any password that's a minimum of 8 characters and has at least a number and a special character. And by doing that, what we'll do is we'll be able to create a MetaMask account. We'll select I have read and I agree to the terms, and we'll press create. By creating the password, now it's going to show us a short informational video about the secret recovery phrase. I recommend that each and every one of you watch this video into its completion, but let's go over it. What is the secret recovery phrase? Your secret recovery phrase is a 12-word phrase that is your master key to your wallet and your funds. It's extremely important that you keep this. It's not the passwords we just filled in. This is a separate thing. It's the master key. Always keep it, always store it. And I'm changing my tone because it's extremely, extremely important. How do I save my recovery phrase? Well, you can save it in a password manager, in a bank vault, in a safe deposit box, write it down, store it in multiple places. Should I share it? Never, ever share it. Now, the reason that this is so important to store, and don't take it lightly because often we just, whatever. If you lose this and you lose access to your account, you can never, ever, ever recover any part of your account. That's a scary thought, but it is the truth. People have lost millions and millions and millions in Bitcoin that are lost in the ether forever because they have forgotten their secret recovery phrase. Take it seriously. Watch the video, and then we'll come back to this. Hopefully you've all watched the video and you now understand the importance of the secret phrase and what it entails. Now, keep in mind, the account that I'm creating here is not the account that I will be using for any of my information, right? So this wallet, it's going to be empty. Don't even try to access it because it's not going to have anything in it. But if we go to next, it's going to show you your secret recovery phrase. Ensure that you click the link here to download your secret recovery phrase into a file. Then what you'll do is you'll click here in order to reveal your secret words. So when we click reveal here, it'll reveal the words, and then we can go to the next step. And in the next step, now we have to select the words in the right order. And once we select the words in the right order, we can confirm, and then we've created our account. So to do this, you just select the words, and once you've reached the 12th word, you can confirm, and then if you've selected them in the right order, right, then it should work out in your favor, right? You should be able to confirm. Right now you can see I can't confirm because it's not in the correct order. Therefore, I need to ensure that I select them in the correct order. And that's what I'm going to do now. I recommend that you all do the same. And then once you've selected them in the right order, you can click the confirm button. Once you have selected them in the right order and press the confirm button, you will be greeted with the congratulations page. You've passed the test and your security phrase is safe and it's your responsibility. So keep that file safe. And it gives you more tips for storing it safely. Please make sure to read through all of this and keep it safe. We are not responsible for anything you do wrong in this case. You are responsible for your secret recovery phrase, and that is that. So then you press all done, and now you have a fully viable MetaMask account with Ethereum in it. And now we can connect that to OpenSea. So let's look at what that looks like. Now, after you're done setting up your wallet and you've installed MetaMask, what I have found is that you often need to restart Chrome in order for it to be fully compatible with everything. So restart Chrome and then keep the password that you filled in when you created your account, not the secret phrase, but the password you filled in, because you'll need to fill it in again to log in. Now, once you restart Chrome and you go back to OpenSea, we can now press the connect your wallet button, and then we can press MetaMask. And then by pressing MetaMask, it'll open up this pop-up where we need to fill in our password to unlock MetaMask. And then it can say, hey, connect OpenSea to MetaMask. Select the account you want to connect. So we'll select the account we just created. You can create multiple wallets in MetaMask, but it creates one by default and we'll connect that one. And then it'll ask you, connect account with this address, allow to view addresses permitted accounts. We press connect. And now our wallet is connected to OpenSea, our complete USD wallet. And so now that we have our wallet connected, we can actually go to our account, our profile, and we can see that our MetaMask account is here. Awesome. So now we can start playing around with what we can do on OpenSea. So let's dive into that. Now that our account is set up, maybe we'll tinker around with the settings a bit. So let's go over here. Let's click this little settings icon and another pop-up came up and it's saying signature request. Welcome to OpenSea. Click sign to sign in. No password needed. This does not trigger a blockchain transaction or cost any gas fees. Your authentication will be reset after 24 hours. So let's sign that. And now we can actually go into our profile settings and set up a complete account for our wallet. That's amazing. So here you can fill out your username, your bio. So, as username, we can fill in ZTM, bio. We'll fill in the bio a bit later. And then for your email address, you should fill in the email that you want to use. I'll be using crypto at zerotomastery.io. And so you can fill in other parts of your wallet. You can even put up a profile image, a profile banner, and then you can save your account as is. And now it'll tell you verify your email address to link it to your OpenSea account. And so that's what you should do. Go to your email, go look for the OpenSea email and verify the account. After taking some time to make my profile and verify it via email, I took some time to set up the profile page. And this is the official Zero to Mastery OpenSea page where we will be distributing ZTM specific NFTs if you were interested. And here is also where we will be distributing the very first NFT that ZTM will ever launch as part of this course. The very, very first one. The very first NFT ever that ZTM will make will be made in this course. Isn't that exciting? So, and we'll be showing you how we go through that process. Awesome. So let's get started. Over here in the settings panel, right? We're going to open that up. Seems like there's a small bug here. So let's go back to OpenSea and then let's click it. And then let's say account, my collections, right? And then let's say create, curate, and manage collections of unique NFTs to share and sell. And then we'll create the collection. And as part of the collection, we need to have a logo image. So that logo image is going to be this image. We'll open that up. And then featured image. This image will be used for featuring your collection on the home page, category, collections, promotions, etc. And so for that, you select a different image. And we're going to go with the basic ZTM branding, if anything, which will be our branding image for both the site-wide and the regular image, like the banner and the featured image. And then we'll say, what's the name of our collection? Well, we'll call it Origin. And that will be the origin of ZTM's OpenSea collection. Oh, that name is already taken. So we'll call it Zero to Mastery. And you have to find a collection name that's actually available for you, right? You can also customize the URL if you wanted to. So we'll do Zero to Mastery as a URL. And we'll do our standard learn to code, get hired as a description. Right. What category are we in? Art, trading cards, collectibles, sports, utility. Well, I'll put us in art. You can select a maximum of one category. That's very important to note here. And then there are certain links that you could fill out here for your collection, royalties that can be paid out, collect a fee when a user resells your item. This is deducted from the final sales price and paid out on a monthly basis. And we can fill out percentage. And then we can say, what are the payment tokens that we accept, right? Do we accept Ethereum or Polygon? We're going to stick to Ethereum. And you can fill out the percentage of royalties you want to get for your collection based on what you think is fair. Then display a theme. We'll do contained, covered, padded. These are how your NFTs will be displayed in your collection. Explicit or sensitive content, right? And so some of this is very important. If you need to set your collection as explicit content, you toggle this toggle over here. So we're going to go with covered. We do not have explicit content, and then you can go and create a collection. And that's how it goes. Oh, also don't forget, if you fill in a royalty, you have to fill in the address that it needs to go to. And so once we hit create, over here, you can see the Zero to Mastery collection. Currently, there are no items in the collection, and we'll be minting the very first item right here, right now. Now that we have a collection and we have it all set up with everything that we need, right? We have our own personal profile, the ZTM profile. We now have a collection on the marketplace. The collection on the marketplace isn't the NFTs yet. It's just OpenSea's way of pooling together all of the items that you want under what you would call a project. So your art pieces you can put in different collections if you wanted to make specific collections for specific things. So now let's go ahead and add an item. Over here, you can see the create a new item form. This is where OpenSea allows us to actually upload our image or video or MP3, whatever the case may be. And so what we're going to upload is our very first NFT, the ZTM Biker. And we're going to call him the ZTM Biker. So here you can see the uploaded. You can do JPEG, PNG, GIF, SVG, MP3, all of the above. And if you have a project externally, right? If you have a bigger project where you have a website with all the information around the art you're trying to make, you can link the specific item with extra information so that they can go view your project. Now, over here, you can fill in the description. Here we'll fill in the very first ZTM NFT, the ZTM Biker. And then we'll add it to the collection, 0 to mastery, because that's the only collection we have. And here you can see that you can add properties to it, right? You could add properties like character, age, all that stuff. So what we're going to do is we'll give it a character. But we're going to call the character number 1 because it's the very first NFT. You can give it levels, you can give it stats. You could even give it unlockable content. Unlockable content being a specific access key and email, something to contact someone or a specific item code that you could redeem for something. And who knows, maybe we'll put something in here. So that's where you can put unlockable content. Next to that, you can mark it as explicit content just in case it's not for young people, and you can determine on what blockchain. So OpenSea supports Ethereum and Polygon. Polygon is a gas-free blockchain experience that works with Ethereum. So you can determine on which chain you basically want to sell it. And then once you hit create, you create it. So once you hit create, it actually goes through the process of creating your NFT on the OpenSea platform. Now, at that point, it hasn't been distributed to the marketplace just yet. It just says you created the ZTM Biker. Now that we've completed the creation of our NFT, it is time for us to get ready to sell it. And over here on the overview page of our asset, we can see that we have an edit and a sell button where we can edit the NFT and we can list it to sell. And so when we go to the sale page, right, where we're going to put it up for sale, we have the option between putting it up for a fixed price or putting it up for an auction. And putting it up for an auction just says that you put in a starting price and then over 7 days, you can bid. And so we're going to do it for a fixed price and we're going to select 0.19 Ethereum, which is $800. Once we hit complete listing, we are going to get prompted to initialize our wallet. And over here, you can see that the gas fees are estimated to be 0.05 ETH, right? And so with that, we're spending $259 to initialize our wallet. So this is the very, very first time we're selling on OpenSea. And because it's the very first time that we are selling on OpenSea, we need to initialize our wallet. We need to get set up for the first time in order to be able to sell on OpenSea as an account. You only do this once, the very first time that you list something, and then it's good to go. So we'll hit confirm here. And then once we confirm, it should be able to go through. So make sure that you have Ethereum in your wallet. Right? And then we'll go to Etherscan. And over here, you can see that the transaction has not yet been processed. So once the transaction has been processed, that's when it will go through. So there's one transaction in the queue for OpenSea. We have 0.2 ETH on our account. And so we're just waiting for this one to go through. Now we do have the option to press speed up, which speed up would basically, it would cost us more Ethereum to put it on the network faster. And with that, it would just process faster for the initialization of the wallet. If we just wait as is, we just have to wait until this basically goes through, right? And so right now it's in a pending state. So the transaction has started, it's in a pending state, and the estimated confirmation duration is approximately 45 seconds. So we're sending from to 0 Ether, and we're just paying the gas fee. So the max fee is $292 or 0.06 ETH. So once this transaction has completed, we will have initialized our wallet. And as you can see, as you refresh, the estimated confirmation duration keeps changing. And this is because Ethereum prioritizes what happens on Ethereum based on the amount of gas you're willing to pay. We're keeping it at a low amount, 0.06. So we're not trying to push this to go as fast as possible, but that also means that our transaction could be queued up for a long time. And here you can see there's a signature request coming in from OpenSea, which means the initialization of our wallet has occurred. And at this point, the item is approved for sale. And once we hit sign, we have now confirmed our listing. And we can view our item, and it is now for sale, right? And so how much did we end up paying? Well, you can see here, I went down from 0.2 to 0.15 Ethereum. So it cost us about approximately 0.05 Ethereum to get the transaction through to initialize our wallet. And that's something you have to take into account. Listing on OpenSea comes with a one-time initialization fee. Now that our Biker is up, we can cancel the listing, we can lower the price, we can still edit it, right? So all of that to say that we now have successfully listed our NFT on OpenSea and successfully created a digital non-fungible asset that is being sold for this price. Isn't that amazing?